Hey, welcome to Travillian Next. My name's Amber Buker, your host, and I am so excited to be bringing you part 2 of our conversation with Five Star Bank today. Five Star is an opportunistic institution. The California-based bank is growing assets and headcount, adding new business lines, and entering new markets. And it's doing all of that while reducing cost of funds and the efficiency ratio. So we sat down with the bank's CFO, Heather Luck, to learn how she's balancing priorities in an institution that strives to have no dead weight. This might look a little bit different than some of the episodes that you've come to expect from Travillian Next, and that's because this is a part of an ongoing collaboration series between Travillian and our friend John Maxfield, who is crisscrossing the country documenting the most important stories in banking today for his brand, Maxfield on Banks. We hope you enjoy this collaboration and look forward to more to come. Thank you. Heather, it is so great to meet you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for letting us come and be in your space. It's gorgeous and beautiful day outside.
Yeah.
I think it's always a beautiful day here, though.
Sometimes, winter here was a little foggy, but
Okay.
I like the fog, so that's okay.
Foggy, not bad.
Not bad.
So
yeah.
you're from this area. Did you grow up here?
I'm not actually.
Okay. Where are you from?
Originally, I'm from Southern Illinois, and I moved to Wyoming when I was 10. Lived there until I was 20, and then I went to school at the University of Utah. Got my bachelor's degree in marketing, and then I met a man in the military. Classic, you fell in love, and so we got married, and then he's an Air Force pilot, and so we moved down to Texas for pilot training, and then that's what brought us to California. And so I've been lucky enough to spend the last 20 years in California, between Northern and Southern California combined. So happy to call Sacramento home now.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's a great story. You've been a lot of places.
I have.
That's a lot of moving, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had been to a lot of places when I was younger, but all within the same, just a lot of different houses in the same area. But
Yeah.
You've got all sorts of different geographies
I've
there.
covered
It's
lots
great.
of geographies, and I like it. I moved around a lot when I was little, and so for me it's fun. It's exciting to see new places. Yeah.
And have you always been like a finance person? How did you come to be the CFO? Like, how is this just your personality, your talent that you're good at?
Here's the funny thing. I never actually thought I was a finance person until I really think back.
Okay.
Like when I was younger, and like my mom would want to borrow money from me, and I'd be like, you owe me interest. Like,
No way.
And so, you think back on things like that. It's like, okay, deep down, I think I was an accountant all
There were
along.
signs.
There were signs. But yeah, I was a marketing major, actually. My bachelor's is in marketing. But for me, I knew when I graduated, so I graduated in 2002, when the dot-com bubble had burst, jobs were not plentiful. And, here I was with my fresh, new, shiny degree and not a lick of, like, marketing experience or anything like that. I was working at Bath & Body Works at the time, managing their stores. And for me, that was the first, I kind of want a job in any economic environment. And then, especially whenever I married into the military, that was also like, okay, I want to find something where I can have a job no matter where we go, no matter where we get stationed, because I like to keep my brain active. Mm-hmm. And so for me, accounting was a nice natural fit, and turns out I'm good at it. So
Turns out you're very good at it.
Yeah.
Turns out you're very good at it. And we're going to talk about, let's just go ahead and dive in. I think Five Star has some really interesting aspects to how it runs.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit different than, some of the other perhaps sleepier banks out there. I've been talking to everyone about how entrepreneurial you guys are, and it's very, very cool, very exciting. But you do definitely do things a little bit different, and that comes with, a lot of concentration in some areas, and you guys have quite a lot of CRE loans that have continued to grow as a percent of your your risk-based capital from 2024 to 2025. And I know that you've spoken in the past about just how you manage that portfolio with such granularity, and how there is a lot of diversity within the CRE class itself. So is that still working in terms of like managing that ratio, and have you started to think about, is there a ceiling where you have to start to think about a pivot?
Yeah, if you were to take a look at Five Star Bank from the outside looking in, if you just looked at like just CRE concentrations, you'd be like, oh my gosh, like you guys are heavily concentrated, and we are. But this is something that's been in our business plan ever since we came out of the ground. I mean, we started 25 years ago, and our founders were in commercial real estate. I mean, that was really what our sole mission was as a bank. And so, over those 25 years, we've been able to develop a very robust monitoring program. We are high, but it just means that if you are higher, because usually you reference like a 300% capital ratio, but that just means you need to have enhanced procedures. You need to have a more robust program for monitoring. And so that's what we do. We re-underwrite every single relationship over $2 million every year. And that's several loans. Like that's the bulk of the portfolio. And so, that's a really good avenue for monitoring, because we get new rent rolls, we get new appraisals, we contact the borrower, we look at their financial wherewithal, we do all of that. But in addition, we do have policy limits for our concentrations. Typically once we start getting over 700, that's when we're like, okay, we're getting a little high. We need to consider like, are we going to do a capital raise? What are we going to do to manage that? And typically that, once we start getting over that level, that kind of does coincide with needing to get more capital anyways to support the growth. And so we look at that a lot, but we also then have like concentration limits at the like purpose code level. So, we look at our portfolio for commercial real estate really at the purpose code level. So that would be like at our manufactured home communities and our RV parks and our faith-based, like the verticals like that we serve. And really we have, internal limits for the concentrations at those levels as well too. So we're managing that on multiple levels. And really, when it comes to like regulator conversations and things like that, it really is looking at the different asset classes that we're in. We are well diversified amongst those verticals, but then also too, our RV park and our manufactured home community lines, those are nationwide. And so we not only have vertical diversification, but we also have statewide and geographic diversification, which that helps a lot too.
Definitely.
Yeah.
There was another set of numbers that did really well between 2024 and 2025, and that was your cost of funds went down significantly.
Yes.
Super exciting.
Yes.
Actually looks like you're kind of reshaping the deposit base. So can you tell me about the strategy there?
Yeah, we usually, and you're referring to our wholesale book that we rolled down. So wholesale for us is brokered CDs and state of California CDs. And really, what we do is we use the brokered CDs as a bridge between our loan pipeline and our deposit pipeline, because they don't really roll into the bank as on the same cadence. Setting up a new deposit account just takes more time. It's just a lot more resources that we need, and things we have to vet out, and then underwriting, it's like, clearly there's a process there, but it's a lot shorter lead time. And so, as we go through these cycles of growth, we do use brokered to kind of bridge that gap and make sure we're okay from a funding perspective, liquidity perspective. And so we've been able to roll down those deposits as we bring in core deposits from new accounts, from existing customers that have nice fluctuations. And really it's part of our strategy to keep our cost of funds as low as we can. We were probably one of the first to raise rates during the rate cycle going up. And so, the conversation was, hey, as these come back down, we'll roll back down too. So we're happy with the movement that we had last year. But really, we'll continue to use those as needed, but our liquidity position has been pretty good. Our business development officers are doing their job. They're bringing in new customers, continuously selling every day, and it's been nice to be able to see that and see it really just continuously roll down the book.
Yeah. And you're bringing on so many new people. You've brought on several new staff. You opened a brand new branch, Walnut Creek, I think, recently. You've brought in technology, like I think Axiom is one of the tools that you guys are using. None of that is cheap, and yet somehow your efficiency ratio went down between 2024 and 2025, and it is incredible. It's in the 40s, low 40s, which for the banking industry is incredible. We're normally if we're lucky, at 60. So yeah, that's really special, and I'm sure everyone listening, our audience is bank executives, and so they're all going to be listening to this going, how the heck did they pull that off?
Yeah, it's, we're proud of our efficiency ratio. We are. It's not the only measure we use, but it's a metric that I look at regularly. But that being said, we really don't make decisions based on, that's going to make the ratio go up. We really do. We're continuously investing in our back office as well as our in customer-facing support. Axiom's a great example of that. We implemented that probably 4 years ago now. It was shortly after going public. We knew we needed a more robust reporting system because before it was like download everything into Excel, hope and pray you don't mess it up or fat finger anything or delete some rows. And then you were doing this perpetual validation check to make sure everything was consistent. And we knew that there was a better way. And we also knew that we needed it to scale and grow. And so that was a decision point where, again, it's not a cheap system, but it's also one that's going to help us scale and help us grow. And we as an executive team recognize that, some of these investments in technology, while it might not be the most affordable option, it's the scalable option. And it's the option that we need to make sure that our financials are accurate, correct, and insightful. Because if you're just putting numbers on paper and you can't have any action steps behind it, then what good is it, And so, we continuously invest in our technology. We're actually wrapping up the customer-facing portion of a project to help streamline and speed up our onboarding of depositor accounts and help the client experience on that side too. So that's an exciting project that we'll wrap up in 2026, and then we'll just keep rolling with more projects as we go. We always have a pipeline of things that we need to do, and it's just continuous improvement. Yeah.
And I think that continuous improvement is part of what's attracting such high quality talent to 5-star. Having a great tech stack was one of the things that DJ Kurtzy, who we spoke to yesterday, said really helped him bring his team to the bank was this system is great. You're going to love it. And I think that's something that a lot of times bankers will just look at the cost on its face and go, well, we don't really need that.
Right.
So how do you think about investing, especially as you grow, gaining employees, trying to expand in the Bay Area, potentially major infrastructure, potentially in the future expansion. So how do you start to plan for that? And
it's never easy because our running joke in my group is we spend all of this time and effort on our budget, and we do a really good job on that, and we do always a 5-year forecast period. But typically within the first 2 quarters, we find something new that we're like, okay, let's go in and let's really dive in and do this. Last year was the food and agribusiness vertical and the expansion of that and adding Cliff Cooper's team, which are all great things, but it was something that we weren't planning for, And so we always are thinking about, okay, here's our plan, but knowing that we will pivot. When we see an opportunity, we will always pivot to what the right thing for the business is. We'll never make a business decision and be like, no, we can't do that because that's not in the plan. Let's figure out a way. Let's find a way to make it work, and that's really how we roll with things. Yeah.
Is that strange? Maybe in our bank world, I feel like the answer, and maybe this is just the easy answer, is it's not in the budget, we can't do it this year.
Yeah. I think that probably is a little unusual maybe for other banks. 5-star is the only bank I've ever worked at. So my point of reference is really 5-star, and then my peer groups that I talk to at conferences and socially. For me, myself, I was a former auditor at Ernst & Young for 8 years and a military spouse. So for me, it's change is always permanent.
You're great at change.
I'm great at change. So for me, I'm just okay, bring it on, But sometimes it takes a little bit more convincing of people if they're a little bit more straight and narrow and set, but it's usually not a very hard conversation because it's hey, this is going to be good for the bank. Okay, let's do it.
It sounds like you're the perfect CFO for this bank because I've met a lot of CFOs. We do actually a ton of placements of CFOs at Travillian, and there's definitely kind of a type. You're a little bit breaking the mold, which is maybe why you fit in so well here.
Thank you.
But I'm just curious, in your experience, how does having such an entrepreneurial and ready to pivot and opportunistic, that's the big word, opportunistic, Does that ever butt up against your work?
You know, every now and then, but it's more when it's deadline driven. It's more when it's like, okay, we have this really great opportunity, but we also have a 10K and an audit and SEC filings and public disclosures and regulatory filings, you know, like we kind of have a little bit of an unspoken rule in our group, like, okay, we can do this, but can you please give us like a month? Like it's February, like we are wrapping up the 10K. We just need a little bit of a time. And so, you know, being able to ask for that pause every now and then really helps us, flex that in and feather that into our workload. But that usually is when we get the most resistance. It's just like, hey, we have a lot of competing demands here right now. Does this need to be done right away? If so, fine. We will figure out a way to make it work, and we'll do it. But if we could just give us a hot minute and let us get through this, then we can jump in full force and take care of it.
Yeah. Mike Rizzo, your chief banking officer, was saying that you have a pretty flat organization, and so communication is absolutely crucial. Yeah. And this kind of sounds like a perfect example of that, where you're like, well, our group has this going on. Yeah. Let's give us a month, and then just that back and forth, give and take. It sounds like you guys all do a great job at serving each other. I brought this up with Mike too. I read that you guys have a 24-hour response rule. Yeah. I love that. And I just think it's so respectful and communicative, which is I think what you guys need. So
it is. And we meet as an executive team every other week. We try to make it in person as much as we can, but we do go to Zoom when we need to, and really talk about what we have going on in each department, because that's one of the best ways for us to just get it all out there. It's efficient. It only takes an hour. We all talk about things. We talk about problems or issues and really identify like, okay, what needs to be done here? Because we all have a lot going on here at 5-Star. I mean, we are a very efficient organization, but that also means that every single minute and every single person matters. And so, we're continuously finding ways to, make things as streamlined and process driven as we possibly can. So that way we can control the controllable and then be able to deal with whatever else comes our way.
Great. Okay, last question, I think, unless you just spark a million other things from this, but banking is a really unique industry. I think people don't appreciate that enough, how highly leveraged it is. Yeah. And coming from non-banking background, what's something about this industry that surprised you or shocked you?
Oh, gosh. Where to start? Overall, it was a big shift for me. So, being an auditor at EY, I audited a lot of different industries. Banking was never one of them. Okay. And so it really was me jumping in, like, fresh set of eyes with everything, right? The things I love about banking, though, it's a tight-knit community. I mean, it really is a group of professionals. I love that everyone is like, I don't even know how I fell into banking. Everyone has an alternative path to banking, but we all landed here, which I love that. But it really is, it's a lot. The level of scrutiny that bankers are held, that standard that they're held to, I mean, we have so much responsibility. We are the safekeepers of assets for our customers. And, we are also the engine that helps them do their job. And for me, that was the biggest thing that makes me feel good about my job is what we're doing for our customers and how we're supporting them. PPP was one of the biggest examples of that. I mean, I had only been in banking 2 years when that had happened, and it really was all hands on deck. But just to really see the impact that we had on our customers and people that weren't our customers that eventually came to the bank because we were able to help them. But we're their lifeblood, and that's a huge responsibility that we do not take lightly whatsoever. And then the level of audits that we go through is just mind-boggling. I'm like, well, no wonder we can close in a day because we're audited all the time, at every single level. And so that to me was surprising coming from outside of the industry, but it's all good. It's all good things, and it's necessary. And it's been a great ride so far.
Well, that's nice. You're never coming into a big old mess.
No, exactly.
All the T's have to be crossed and I's dotted, so it's never going to be just total chaos.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Awesome. Is there anything I didn't ask you that we should know about 5-Star?
I think we are. Again, I've never worked at any other bank, but knowing what I know from some of our competitors and some of my friends, we're a different shop. I didn't realize it when I first started here at 5-Star how unique we were, but we really are a team of, and I mean that sincerely, a team of professionals. Like every single person in this company matters and is contributing to the overall success of this company. We don't carry any dead weight. I mean, it really is just matter of fact, we're here to serve our customers. We're here to serve our internal employees. In my group, I serve shareholders, employees, and customers. And we recognize the responsibility that we have, but we also want to make sure that we do it really, really well. So, yeah.
Great. Yeah. Well, your attitude to service, I'm sure that's happening and will continue to. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
It's been great to meet you.
Yes, you too.
Awesome.
Yep.
Thanks, Heather.
Thank you.